Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon to everybody around the world. Welcome back to another One Piece video featuring your boy Kuzan. Come at you guys with another spicy deck profile featuring OP12 here on the channel. Let alone something that we're gonna do a little bit differently here. We're gonna be showcasing a bunch of locals games since the release of OP12. Gearing me up for a really big case tournament here on Sunday. And on top of that, regional events. We're going to be practicing Kuzan as much as possible. This will be my deck of choice currently. And I want to share to you my list in which we will be playing around with. And we're going to go over why certain cards, why I'm running this. And we're going to talk about our games, wins, and losses throughout the week until my big tournaments. So, without further ado, let's get into it. I have seen a lot of lists that are not utilizing the one-drop Rosinante here, let alone Jozu, and then Borsalino. Everything else here you see in this list is typical for most Kuzan deck builds. Now, my list will change accordingly to how I feel throughout the week, and I do have another list I'm utilizing with Houndblaze, but in today's video we are not currently playing with that particular list. This is the one in which we did take the locals. Now, in this particular build, again, people are not utilizing Rosinante, Jozu, and Borsalino. And I don't understand the reasoning for it. I get it, Borsalino is very good, especially when it comes to a blocker in the late game. A lot of decks cannot deal with this because they cannot remove it. And we're talking about Rob Lucci, Sakazuki, any form of removal. Borsalino's got you covered, which is really nice. He also allows you to draw an extra card once you trash something from your hand that might not have counter. So in the late game, something like a Garp or an Aramaki, a Kuzan, or what have you, throw it away, protect Borsalino, draw a free card, which is really nice. The other two, Jozu of course is not searchable, and I have thought about taking him out, but unfortunately there aren't a lot of cards when it comes to Blue Navy that I want to replace him with. I did, however, think about utilizing Virgo here in this spot, just because he's a 5-drop and he's a searchable, and we also don't really play anything on 5 Dawn outside of things like Suru when we need to have like a form of removal. But being able to slap down a 5-7k body is pretty good, whereas Jozu on the other hand, again, not searchable, but he does have his niches, which you can draw into utilizing your Navy ability with your leader, and the good thing about this is he can bounce back the problematic cards such as Tashigi back to your opponent's hand. Arguably your Gravity Blade and your Red Rock can do the same thing, but this is 7 Dawn, this is 6, and this always feels terrible to spend for 6 Dawn to bounce back Tashigi, whereas you can play down the Jozu, bounce back a Tashigi to your hand or a Sengoku and then get another search off for that turn, which is a little bit more value. Now, again, not searchable, but still has a reason to be used here in this deck list. Virgo, on the other hand, is just going to be a 5 cost, 7k vanilla beater that is searchable. So, I mean, that's something else I thought about replacing this with, but for consistency, instead of the chance of getting that 6 cost removal, bounce something on board. Both of them work fine, but just my thoughts there. Now, Sakazuki, on the other hand, a lot of people question, critique, and get a little bit angry that we are only utilizing 2 Sakazukis. And I get it. Sakazuki has a thing, man. You play him on board, he allows you to cycle, you can give a Dawn to something and do a thing, right? Awesome. I understand how good the card is. Me personally, I hate his face, I hate this character, I wouldn't use him if I didn't have to. And considering he's a 7 cost, if we do lose the dice roll, we have a Navy character in which we can play on curve. That's the only reason why he is here, other than the cycle effect, right? If it was any other character that was a 7-drop that Garp could play out reliably to get like a power spike on this turn, it would probably be in this place. Now, there are other ones, in case you guys really don't want to use Sakazuki. We have things like Isho, which is something that's a little bit interesting, right? It's interesting in a sense where you trade stall with, how you say, like hand advantage here, because this allows you to cycle for dead cards and get extra 2k counters or a counter in general in the later games. Whereas this allows you to freeze a 7 cost on your opponent's side of the board And being a 7 cost is very, very good. Although, we have Kuzan that already do this, and it can be anything, so this kind of doesn't have value here. The only other option that you might want to utilize here is going to be the 7-drop Borsalino. Everything else is kind of you know? Borsalino, on the other hand, bounces a 4-cost character to your opponent's deck, which is nice. The bottom, sorry. So we can get rid of things like the 3-cost Tashigi. There aren't a lot of problematic 4-cost characters other than Tashigi, which is a 3, and then you have, what's it called, Basil Hawkins, and Yellow, which is something we could probably, make do with, but we also have Gravity Blade 4 and Jozu 4. So just to throw that up there to you guys. Now, everything else here is going to be typical of most Kuzan lists outside of ratios, and then some deck lists aren't going to be utilizing things like the Gion here. This is still pretty good, even though Blue Nami is no longer a thing. To be fair, like she is going to be a card, but you guys know what I mean. Now, this serves a little bit of value against certain decks, so I would say against Rob Lucci, where they have to play events to reduce cost, or Blackbeard to reduce cost. But I mean, I digress. She was really just here for Blue Nami. She is a searchable 2K, so this can be cut out for any other 2K you guys want to choose. Each their own. In any case, we're going to dive into a bunch of games today. We're going to dive into a game today, and then we'll come at you guys with multiple games throughout the week, or throughout the day, when it comes to Kuzan. And yes, we will be continuing with normal content. Yamato will be following this video. Let's get into it. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. We're going to dive into this matchup today with Kuzan playing into Red Green Smoker in OP12. This is a matchup on Friday at our local scene here in Curio, which is smaller than our typical locals. Most of the time our local scene gets anywhere between five games, I want to say. And we typically cap out at 64 players, which is kind of crazy. And that's on Sundays and Tuesdays. You guys will be getting games with Kuzan as well, because we do have a big case tournament coming up here on Sunday, in which we are practicing with Kuzan for as much as possible, along with regional events for next month. So, I think it's next month, right? Or is it October? Yeah, it's next month, right? Yeah. Cool. We'll get there. Yeah, next month. Either way, our hand's not the best, but it is much better than last game. We do have double Sengokus here, which we can pitch out the 8-drop Garp to draw extra cards. And I think that will be our game plan going into the next turn. You can go 6 lead. We're going to take this hit anyway. There's a Kuzan. So we got everything we actually need here. Kuzan is going to be key here in this matchup, especially when he drops his 5-cost Smoker. We have no other way of removing that unless we draw into a Gravity Blade off the draw or off a life here. Red Rock is pretty good, but at the same time, he kept his hand, if I recall, right? I could be wrong. I think he kept his hand. Now, that tells me he either has one of two things. He has Smoker in hand in late game, or he has Smoker in Tashigi. Because typically you're looking for one and the other. Either way, let's go ahead and drop down Sengoku. We get ourselves a Gravity Blade, and we'll take a Tashigi here. And this is kind of like the best case scenario, because if this forces my opponent to have Tashigi if he has it. If he doesn't, we get the bottom deck 2 characters of our choosing with Gravity Blade, which is really, really good. The other upside to that is being able to draw 3 cards, because you get 2 off Sengoku, then 1 off your leader, and then one of the cards that we did take from the Sengoku ends up being Tashigi, which allows us to get another card, which can be another 2K or another Sengoku for the following turn. We also got the 1-drop Rosinante here. I'm tempted to just take the 2K counter, but I also think the Rosinante would be really good. But we don't have any time to play it because we got to go second here. So, on our 6th Dawn turn, we have to play down Kuzan anyway, which leaves us with no Dawn to play Rosinante if he does end up utilizing a, Honesty Impact. So there's that. But we have a nice little book in hand. We're chilling. We got double searchers on board. We got him down to 3 life. There is Smoker. Restands Dawn, sure. Which is looking to be Sanji, if I recall. Ideally, this would be Tashigi if he has it in hand, right? Because he knows that we have the Gravity Blade. Although we can't Gravity Blade next turn because we go to 6 Dawn, but still. Having an early game Tashigi would be pretty good here. Monet. So I'm going to attach to Smoker here. Power reduction went on Sengoku, not that it matters. So 7 lead. We'll take this hit as well. I don't really mind taking early game hits here in this matchup, as long as we have the counter for the 7-drop Smoker. Or sorry, the 7k Smoker. We're chilling. It's more so building a book before we have to start, defending. We're going to go ahead and clear that if possible. Yeah, he lets it go. So he gives us no cards in hand, and I believe he's got 5 right now. We have to freeze Smoker here because we don't have any other blockers in hand other than Borsellino, which could be an okay option to play down. Borsellino could drop. We can attach Dawn to Leader and Swing, but I think the Kuzan is better because this will force out a Honesty Impact. And at the same time, we get the cycle here. You pitch 1 card in hand and we get to draw an extra card. And typically at this point, when I already have 1 Garp in hand, if I have extras, I normally pitch them just to draw extra cards. I feel like the Garp isn't as important if you have multiple, because you typically are only going to be using that effect maybe twice a game, and I feel like 2 times is like already winning, you know what I mean? But just being able to, well, I wouldn't say already winning, but if you have a Garp on board plus whatever he plays and you end up playing another Garp plus something else, you're already winning, right, at that point. And I don't like to try to rely on that, especially if I have 1 in hand, I can pitch for an extra draw. I'm going to do that. That's fine. That's cool with me. Because we've got Garp, we've got Gravity Blade in hand. We're chilling, man. We've got Aramaki. We've got a whole book here, in which my opponent doesn't have that many cards right now, which is nice. We're able to freeze the Smoker, so we don't have to worry about that this turn. However, he did have the Galaxy Impact. And that's fine, because next turn we go to 8 Dawn and we have the opportunity of playing Garp and Aramaki, which really help out in this matchup. It allows me to have a body on board to block out from the Banished Smoker swing, which is pretty good. It forces my opponent to have Hody Jones to rest it and then be able to banish something in that situation, which is kind of ideal. And we'll have to play around the Hody. That way we have the Dawn up for our Peacock events, or sorry, our Pheasant events. We'll give him a 2k here, because he did go 6. Which, arguably, you may be wondering why he didn't swing here with Smoker. You gotta keep in mind, we did freeze the Smoker with our Kuzan last turn, so we could have taken that hit, but Hody Jones does exist, and I don't want to go dangerously too low. He does have Sanji, which is another body on board we'll have to contend with here, or give him free cards. He's just out of range of Aramaki bottom decking as well, and we can't bottom deck anything here on board with the Tashigi. So when we do play Garp and Aramaki this turn, we're going to have to bottom deck our Tashigi in order to draw extra cards for a cycle with Aramaki here. So let's do that. We'll play this on board. And then we have the option of pitching the Pudding, because our opponent doesn't have very many cards in hand. Arguably, I should have pitched the Gravity Blade there. And that's probably my bad. Yeah, I definitely should have pitched the Gravity Blade, because we're not clearing anything on board until we are able to clear the Rosinante, or sorry, the Tashigi. So now we'll go ahead and pitch the Gravity Blade with Aramaki's ability, and then we'll bottom deck the Tashigi. In doing this, this allows Aramaki to get 3,000 power, and that's for the turn, but it's not until my opponent's next turn. So we'll go ahead and do this. We'll boost up to 11k, and then we'll trash this. We'll draw a free card, and we'll pass turn here, which is nice. And then he goes back down to 8. But he's kind of similar to the 7-drop Sakazuki. He does allow us to cycle, except for Sakazuki gives us the Rested Dawn, you know? Same concept, realistically. We got 3 Peacocks in hand, which is really, really good. I don't know why I keep calling it Peacock. I meant Pheasant. You guys know what I'm saying. Alright, so Smoker's free to attack me now, which is problematic. Sanji also swings for free here, basically, and then he has 1 lead swing as well. I'm not too sure what he's going to be aiming to play this turn. especially with 5 cards in hand here. We can't remove Mihawk, we can't remove Eustace Kid, so he does have an opportunity of playing a big body on board that could be a blocker to protect the Smoker from the following turn. If he wants to, right? Because if Smoker does swing, we will be clearing it no matter what. Okay, so he's going to swing 6 here. I'm tempted to guard out with Aramaki, but we need the blocker up for the Smoker. So we're just going to go ahead and pitch a 2k counter just for this swing. Which kind of sucks, but it is what it is, man. We don't really have much else going on. Next turn we do. Next turn we have the pheasants to keep us alive. Which is nice. We do eat that swing up. And my opponent now decides to figure out what he wants to do here. I believe he is on 8 Dawn, right? Or sorry, 9 Dawn. So he's got quite a bit of options. Okay. There goes 8. Plays down Kid. Sure. Smoker effect gets to restand 2, and then the other Smoker restands 1, so he's got 4 Dawn left to play around with. Which leads us to believe he only actually has 3 Dawn, because he's going to be attaching 1 to the Kid. And Kid gets to do the thing. We did get a Rosinante out of hand earlier for counter, so perhaps he doesn't have an extra one. Which is nice. This also lowers the cards that he does have in hand here, if he plays a body from the Eustace Kid. And I'm okay with that. Because he has to turn it sideways anyway, right? Just to enable the ability. 3 left over. So that means he either goes 10k with the 5-drop Smoker, or he goes 6 and 9 maybe? What do you look for here? Maybe a 2k? Perhaps? Okay, gets another 5-drop Smoker. Which is pretty good for us, right? That tells me he didn't really have any, like, good choices. Which is nice. But it's also another dead card in hand with no counter. So, we should be able to clear Kid no problem next turn without any form of cost reduction or any shenanigans, if you will. We can go 9 lead, so of course we're going to block out here and give him a 2k counter, which is nice. Aramaki being that 8k body is pretty good. He's going to leave 1 Dawn up. He's got 4 left in hand. One of those cards is a 5-drop Smoker. Okay, so he's going to go 6. And I'm tempted to just go ahead and take this hit, because it just gives us an extra card here. We're not necessarily in danger with the board state right now. We do have to clear the Kid if possible. We get a Gravity Blade here. I think technically we should have... Well, no, because we don't have the Gravity Blade in hand. So I guess we have to Grav Blade the Sanji, right? Ideally, if we kept the Gravity Blade prior to this, we could have removed the Tashigi and then played Gravity Blade on the following turn to bottom deck the Sanji and the Smoker. But of course, you never know which you're going to get off life there, so we had to pitch what made sense at the time. So we'll spend 3. We got 7 Dawn left. We'll play down a Sengoku. I want to have another blocker on board, along with 2 Dawn, just in case he drops Hody Jones, right? Because if we play 1 blocker and leave 1 Dawn up, he just rests both, and then we have probably just thrown the game at that point. There's the Grav Blade, by the way, so if we had removed the Tashigi, we could have drew into another one and then removed 2 bodies on board. That would have been really, really good. Okay. Ooh, I forgot about the Maynard here in this list. That's my fault. So that means this particular list is running exactly what I showed you guys, minus 1 Grav Blade for 1 Maynard. Which would have been the previous list that we ran in our last Kuzan video. Just for the record. Alright, so we're sitting at 7, right? If we play our Kuzan here, which is something I was tempted to do, we freeze the Smoker, therefore he can't get the Banish Swing. The downside is again, Hody Jones does exist. So he plays Hody at that point. He would rest our Maki and our unrested Dawn. Therefore, we couldn't use any of our ice blocks at all. I think at that point we would be cooked, because then he has the Eustace Kid swing, he's got the leader swing, and then the Hody Jones. On top of, he's able to restand 3 Dawn, so he has 6 Dawn left to play around with at that point. And our hand would not really let us win that, if you will. Especially if he decides to rest our Dawn, right? So we get a 2k off of that, which is good. So we got a 2k off of the 9k into the 8k kid. Look at me, that'd been crazy. So we'll go ahead and go 11k into the kid, which is nice, because remember, he's got 3 cards in hand, and one of them's a 5-cost smoker. We'll play Borsalino down, we'll leave up 2 Dawn. We'll go 5 lead here. So we'll give him an extra card. So he's got 1 smoker, plus 3 cards in hand here. He'll draw 1, which will put him at 5. And now for the turn, if he does play Hody, which is more than likely, because we only have 1 blocker up with 2 life, he can't go for game in this regard, because we have an ice block left. Because you can only rest 1 Dawn or 1 character, or 2 characters or 2 Dawn, you know what I mean? So Hody being, or coming down this play, or this turn, would mean, like, this is it, right? Because he's not surviving next turn. But he still has Smoker's ability from both to restand extra Dawn. So he does have a way of swinging quite huge here, because he's 3 attacks now. I don't see him donning up the Tashigi in any situation. It could be a 9k swing with Hody Jones, and then a 9k with the 5-drop smoker, and then the rest on the leader there. I think that's math. It's 1, 2, yeah, okay, so it's 9, 9, 8. Or you can go, what, 7, 9, 10? I think he's trying to figure out how he wants to allocate Dawn here. Okay, yep. 9k lead. We're going to have to ice block here, just so we're able to draw an extra card. And we have 1 Dawn up anyway, so you might as well. So we're going to go to 9. I'll pitch the Kuzan here, and then we'll leader ability first. So we'll draw a card off leader skill, which is good. So there's the pitch for the ice block. So now we're Kuzan ability. We get a 2k. We give him the Tashigi here, makes us go to 10, which is good. And now our hand's pretty goated, because we've got 4 2k counters, which is 8k counter for the next 2 swings here. And I don't think he made a misplay by playing Hody at all. I think he had, you know, he had to go for it, because at this point he's not surviving next turn anyway. And he's just checking my hand for the 2Ks. And I don't believe at any point during this game he decided to attack into any of my characters, which is, I'm okay with, right? They are 8k bodies, so. This card is really good, by the way. Being able to pitch a card in hands, and then drawing one, and then drawing an extra card off your leader ability, you know what I mean? You get 2 cards for 1 is crazy. What we got left? Is that 4 Dawn? He's going to leave a Dawn open. So 7 lead. Okay. I wonder what he was going to be able to play with 1 Dawn here. So he just gives me the game. Not bad, not bad. I think overall this went really well for us. I think if we had known what our life was going to be with that Gravity Blade, we could have played it a little bit differently and removed the smoker earlier, which would have been fine. That's 2 smokers in hand and a Hody Jones. So your boy was like really bricked up there, which is crazy actually, because he had Hody on board. He already had a smoker, so he drew into another smoker, and then the Peacock and a Hody Jones. That's kind of nutty. That's actually kind of nutty. But overall, Not too bad, man. Being able to drop down a Aramaki on board to remove the problematic blockers, such as like a Rosinante here in this matchup, is pretty good. And or the Monets or the Searchers just to get the boost is pretty solid. Allowing us to cycle out and get free draw. I think the Aramaki probably is what won us this game. Being able to have that body up to be able to control the Smoker, whether or not he can actually deal damage to me during that turn, is pretty solid. But we're going to go ahead and dive into the end of the deck list here and see you guys in the split set. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the end of the video in which today we utilize Kuzan playing into red-green Smoker here at Locals. Let alone you guys will be getting a bunch more matchups when it comes to playing this leader. We are testing, or it's not testing, we are getting as much practice as we possibly can for the upcoming regionals and a really big case tournament here on Sunday. I'm having a blast with this deck. I think this is how blue should have been created or been made. Whereas if you go back and you see some of the older blue decks out there, such as like Buggy for instance, he came out in OP09, right? He does similar things to Kuzan where it's like you play a character down, you draw cards. You're able to keep a really nice hand size with Buggy, or at least draw cards until you see the pieces you need. The same thing with Usopp, except for when one of your characters is KO'd, then you get to draw an extra card if you have 5 cards or less in your hand. Whereas Buggy, he doesn't have that restriction to be able to draw cards, right? And play an effect. Whereas things like Usopp and Boa, they do. And Boa was kind of one of the OG blue decks way back in the day in OP7. Of course, we had things like Ivankov as well, but another blue deck in which you had to have had less cards in your hand to get value. The same thing with Boa. And I think by this point, everybody knows blue for things like bounce control and removal. So Red Rock, Gravity Blade, whether it's going to be a bounce Kaido, which at this point, you know, it's kind of irrelevant. So you have things like the 7-drop Doflamingo, the bounce characters, Luffy here, the bounce characters, Mihawk, the bounce characters, you know what I mean? They kind of look at this deck, or sorry, blue, as a control deck. Well, it's a little bit hard to be a good control deck in my eyes when you cannot have a lot of cards in hand in order to use an ability. Whereas with Kuzan, you can trash a Navy type card with the, you know, and then use this ability to draw one multiple times in a turn. So you can amass a book in your hand and still have a very solid board state and have removal at the same time. He's doing great. I do think this leader is going to be played at a higher level once people figure out how the deck is supposed to perform. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Blackbeard at the early stages, whereas Blackbeard wasn't so great until people started to grasp the concept and how to perform well with the deck and play the deck. You know what I mean? I think Kuzan will be the same in that regard, and he's also Navy, so this means that you will be getting more support. I mean, because everybody favors Navy, let's be fair. But outside of my games today and through the week, you guys will be getting a bunch of matchups for OP12 leading up to the bigger events, and I will be trying to record at regionals and my case tournament just to show you guys a variety of different games with Kuzan, whether it's a win or a loss. As long as I can fit it into, you know, the space with my phone, you guys will be getting matchups here. So stay tuned for that. Let alone Yamato will be coming here very, very soon. I did promise you guys a version 2 of a deck list when it comes to Yamato, so that's very, very soon. I don't know if that'll be today, tomorrow, but it'll be this week. I couldn't get it out yesterday because yesterday was my mother's birthday, so we had to take a little bit of a pause, you know what I mean? But outside of that, I think this deck list is doing phenomenal. I do see myself changing some cards here, in which I already have in a future video. We were playing around with other control pieces like Hound Blaze, and I see a lot of the deck lists out there aren't utilizing that or even playing around with it. And I'll tell you why. There's a leader here that exists in the current format that is very scary, which is Rayleigh. Rayleigh, on the other hand, has a lot of 1-drops, whether it's a Searcher Nami or Shiki. There's a lot of stuff in which this leader plays on board, Sanji for example, that are problematic. Okay, that may not be problematic on your turn, but when Rayleigh decides to power them up and swing in your face, it's a little bit of a difficult situation to handle. And if you read Houndblaze, it's not necessarily a you must play with Kuzan, obviously not. Just something I've been playtesting around, but it is working because this allows you to bottom deck the searchers or bottom deck the 2 and 1 cost characters and give yourself a boost, which is pretty solid. At the same time, it is searchable, which is something you kind of need here when you're playing Control. Consistency is a must. And being able to bottom deck things like their 1-drop searchers, or if you're looking at Blackbeard, for example, we get to remove .Q, which, if this card's KO'd, your opponent gets to draw an extra card. Being a 2 cost, with Houndblaze and a Kuzan, which is searchable, it's kind of pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty good. And at the same time, it allows you to, in a Bonnie matchup, for example, remove the 1-drop searcher, and then swing into face with 8k, or what have you, depending on who you attach the boost to. Just something I've been playing around with. But ideally, this list, we'll see a couple more changes here, probably before my case tournament. And you guys should leave your thoughts and your opinions down in the comments below, whether or not what ratios you guys are running, what cards you think I should try here in Kuzan. And we'll give it a go. Either way, I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay tuned. Very, very soon. We'll probably put it out tomorrow as well. I'm trying to be as consistent as possible when it comes to the locals content here, and get as much to you guys as I can. But without further ado, this has been Pawseplays. Remember to hit that like button on these videos so we get these things floating around, and I will catch you guys in the next one.